10 in air quotes because I'm bad at deciding. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Rochelle. I read a variety of books and I also have a disability, and we are finally at that time of the year where we will be talking about my 10 books that I'd like to read before the end of the year. And whew, I actually have quite a few, but I think I narrowed it down to at least 10. I have one extra just because I completely forgot about it until the last minute. So for the year of 2025, I basically had the goal to read 100 books. This was a number that I didn't hit last year but got very close to, and so I decided I got pretty close to it. Let's go and actually make my goal 100. And this is definitely something that I'm not close to. I think I'm at like 76-ish. So I do have quite a ways to go, and I'm not entirely sure if this will be a goal I'll be able to reach before the end of the year. But I do have at least 10 books that I'm hoping I might be able to wiggle in, and some of them are also books that I do have on my TBR for the Dungeons and Book Dragons readathon. This readathon has been so much fun, let me just say. I've been obsessed with it, and Ivy has been so creative and amazing, and this is definitely a readathon that next year I am so excited for again. This readathon isn't even over, but I'm already excited for next year's version of the readathon and seeing what other amazing things Ivy will come up with. So yeah, these are a lot of the different books that I'm looking at. Some of these are books that I might try to also pick up for the readathon if I can, because they would give me points. But let me stop babbling. Let's actually look at some of the books that I have. So one of the first ones I have here is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I did read One Dark Window last year, and I just didn't get around to going and picking up the next one. So I've been really wanting to go and finish this duology. I feel like I want to kind of give Rachel Gillig another chance, because I did go and read The Night and the Moth, and honestly, I loved that book so much, and I can't wait until the next one. But I just feel like she's probably gonna also pull at my heartstrings and make me cry with that one when it comes out next year. So I think until then, I would like to go and read Two Twisted Crowns and finish this duology and ultimately just know what happens. I feel like I've been so bad at finishing series and duologies, so that's kind of another goal for myself, is just to do a little bit better there and kind of finish what I start, which I'm not good at all, both with video games and books, just calling myself out there. But yeah, I'm excited to go and pick this one up and see what happens next, because One Dark Window did end on a pretty big cliffhanger, so I'm excited to dive back into this world. Then another book I have is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This has been a book that has been on my radar for the longest time. I constantly hear people talk about it, and I did get one that has these beautiful sprayed edges from Atria, because I am someone that's in Atria's influencer program, and if you're ever curious about stuff like that, I do have a video which I'll link up here so you can go and get a better look at if it's something you've ever been curious about. But a little bit about this one: in a mortal world colonized by the gods and ruled over by the Descended, their cruel magical offspring, DM Bellator, yearns to escape her poor village. Her mother's sudden disappearance and the discovery of a dangerous secret about her past offer DM an unexpected opportunity to enter the dark world of Descended royalty and unlock the web of mysteries her mother left behind. I've just been so curious about this book. I think I've probably mentioned wanting to go and pull this book up and put it on my monthly TBR a few times, and I have a feeling I'm probably going to fly through this book series so quickly, so I'm excited to finally get the chance to pick it up. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm adding it to my 10 before the end, because I feel like I need that goal to incentivize getting myself to pick it up. Then another book I have is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I believe I had this one on my last year's 10 before the end, and so we're bringing it back again. I'm going to try to get into this. I just love the cover of this book so much. I also love the cover of The Enchanted Greenhouse, as well as the one that I can't remember the name of, but I'll include the cover here. I just think the covers of these books are so beautiful and so stunning. I just love the art style, and I just really want to read these books. I know that this one would count for Team Druids for the readathon that I'm in, so I'm hoping that I can go and wiggle this one in for this month. It just depends on what the quest prompts happen to be. So for this one, Keela has always had trouble dealing with people. Thankfully, as a librarian at the Great Library of Elysium, she and her assistant Kaz, a magically sentient spider plant, have spent the last decade sequestered among the Empire's most precious spell books, preserving their magic for the city's elites. I just love the fact that there's a sentient plant in this, and I promise you, I will have this book read before the end of the year. It will happen, mark my words. Then another book I have is Lore of the Wilds by Alia Sabrana. I have this gorgeous version that I believe is from Owl Crate. I ended up going and getting it from Pango. I have really wanted to read this book for the longest time. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. I also have the second book as well, so I'm really hoping to go and finally get the chance to read this one. It says, in a land ruled by ruthless fae, 21-year-old Lore's village is trapped in a forested prison. Lore knows that any escape attempt is futile. Her scars are a testament to her past failures, but when her village is threatened, Lore makes a desperate deal with a fae lord. She convinces him that she will risk her life for wealth, but really, she's after the one thing the fae covet above all, magic of her own. I'm just so curious about this one. I've heard nothing but good things. I also follow the author on Threads and Instagram, and I'd like to finally say that I've read her books, so this is another one that I really am hoping to get to before the end of the year. Then the next book I have is A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwen. I did get the ARC for this from Saga Press, but then ended up going and buying my own copy because I fell in love with the sprayed edges. I know that the next book has already been announced, and I believe it comes out next year, so I'm really hoping to go and finally read this one so that I can be ready for the second book. But this one says, Nina Harrow and Patrick Coulson are only 12 years old when they are whisked from their disenfranchised mining towns to dazzling Bellavere City to test for magical abilities. Nina's lifelong dream is to become an artisan, a powerful elemental mage who fulfills the city's grand ambitions, while Patrick wants only to reunite with his family of craftsmen in the mines. Together they discover a devastating secret. Artisans aren't born, but chosen. With this information, they part ways. Patrick returns home while Nina finds her place as one of the rarest, most coveted types of artisan. I've been so curious about this one. I've also heard nothing but good things about it, and I just feel so bad because I got an ARC for it and I was so excited to read it, and it just never happened. So I want to make sure that I read this one before the end of the year. Then last book that I kind of have in this section of fantasy books I'm hoping to read before the end of the year is I, Medusa by Ayana Gray. I do have an ARC for this on NetGalley, and I'm hoping to squeeze it in before it releases. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Medusa's story, it is absolutely devastating and just one of those things that I always want to read the stories where it does her justice and there's just that feminine rage. It's one of those things that I just love reading. So for this one, it says, Medi has spent her whole life as a footnote in someone else's story, out of place next to her beautiful immortal sisters and her parents, both gods, although minor ones. She dreams of leaving her family's island for a life of adventure. So when she catches the eye of the goddess Athena, who invites her to train as an esteemed priestess in her temple, Medi leaps at the chance to see the world beyond her home. In the colorful market streets of Athens and the clandestine chambers of the temple, Medi flourishes in her role as Athena's favored acolyte, getting her first taste of purpose and power. But when she is noticed by another Olympian, Poseidon, the course of Medi's promising future is suddenly and irrevocably altered. I know there's 100% going to be trigger warnings in this book, so this is one that I've kind of been waiting to be in the right mindset before I pick up, but I do really want to read this one before the end of the year, and also hopefully before the book releases as well. Then let's go over the horror books that I'm hoping to read. First one is Listen to Your Sister by Nina Avil. This is one that I have on my horror bingo, and I can't remember if for hard mode I did need to read this one before the end of the year. I know with one of the other spots it was something that I had to do, but I can't remember if it was for this topic. But because I am doing hard mode, I do want to read this book before the year is over, and it shouldn't be too difficult. I feel like a lot of the times horror and thriller books are ones that I just zoom through, and I don't usually drag my feet trying to pick up and read. So this one says 25-year-old Kayla Williams is struggling since becoming guardian to her brother Jamie. Kayla is overwhelmed and tired of being the one who makes sacrifices to keep the family together. Jamie, full of good-natured 16-year-old recklessness, is usually off fighting for what matters to him, or getting into mischief. Often at the same time, Dre, their brother, promised he would help raise Jamie, but now that the ink is dry in the paperwork, in classic middle child fashion, he's off doing his own thing, and through it all the nightmare never stops haunting Kayla. Reoccurring images of her brothers dying that she is powerless to stop. I feel like I haven't really heard too many people talk about this book even now, because obviously it has been released, so I am excited to go and pick it up and make my own thoughts on this. It does say, like in this little note here, it says, by turns hilarious and terrifying, Listen to Your Sister is a surprising big-hearted tale of speculative horror about the nightmares that haunt us and the family bonds that hold us together. For those who love Jordan Peele's films, Stranger Things, and The Other Black Girl. That was definitely a piece that drew me into this book because I love Jordan Peele's movies. They are some of my absolute favorites, so I am really excited to get the chance to check this one out. Then another book I have is Killer on the Road, but also The Babysitter Lives by Stephen Graham Jones. This was one that I picked up, I think, last month, and I've been really excited to pick it up. It is also Indigenous Heritage Month in November, so I have been hoping to go and sneak this one in. But basically with this one, I really love the fact that it has two different stories in it. So you read Killer on the Road on this side, and then The Babysitter Lives on this side. So just to give you a little bit of information on what each book is about. The Killer on the Road, 18-year-old Harper has decided to run away from home after having another blowout argument with her mother. However, her two best friends, little sister and ex-boyfriend, all stop her from hitchhiking her way up Route 80 in Wyoming by joining her on an intervention disguised as a road trip. What they don't realize is that Harper has been marked by a very unique serial killer who's been traveling the highway for the past 3 years. And now the killer is after all of them in this fast-paced and deadly chase where the interstate becomes a graveyard. Then for The Babysitter Lives, when high school senior Charlotte agrees to babysit the Wilbanks twins, she plans to put the 6-year-olds to bed early and spend a quiet night studying. The SATs are tomorrow, and checking the Native American Alaskan Native box on all the forms won't help her if she chokes on test day. But tomorrow is also Halloween, and the twins are eager to show off their costumes. The house is filled with mysterious noises and secrets that only the twins understand. Echoes of horror that Charlotte gradually realizes took place 11 years ago. Soon, Charlotte has to admit that every babysitter's worst nightmare has come true. They're not alone in the house. I'm just so excited for this one. I've only read one book by Stephen Graham Jones so far, and so I'm really excited to go and check out another one, and I just feel like this one is so fun. I'm obsessed with the concept of 2 books in one. I just think that's so cool. Then the next book I have is Plague Town by Dana Fredsty. And I've been really missing zombie books, and I've been in the need to read another one. So this is one that I picked up a while back. I'm not entirely excited about the fact that this one is a small book because I feel like these ones are so difficult to go and read, and I always break the spine, which is not something I'm ever happy or thrilled about doing. But I have been curious about this one, and it says, people are dying, then they are waking up hungry. In the small university town of Redwood Grove, people are succumbing to a lethal strain of flu. They are dying, but not for long. Ashley Parker and her boyfriend are attacked by these shambling, rotting creatures that crave human flesh. Their lives will never be the same again. When she wakes, Ashley discovers that she is a wild card, immune to the virus, and is recruited by a shadowy paramilitary organization that offers her the chance to fight back. Fatally attracted to her gorgeous instructor and bonding with her fellow wildcards, Ashley begins to discover skills she never knew she had. I'm just really excited for this. I love books that have zombies, apocalyptic settings, things like that. It's just one of my favorite story types to follow, so I'm excited to finally read this and just get a little bit of my zombie fix taken care of. Then I have From Below by Darcy Coates. This was one that I actually did start in October, but I only got to page 23 before the month ended, and so I'm gonna restart it so that I can count it for the readathon that I'm in. And this one I'm a little bit worried about just because ocean horror is something that is a little bit more on the scary side for me. I am absolutely terrified of sharks, and I don't think this book will have that, but I'm still a little bit nervous to go and read this one. I do also have it on my horror bingo board, so this is one that I do need to get to at least before the end of September next year. This one says, "No light, no air, no escape. Hundreds of feet beneath the ocean surface, a graveyard awaits." Years ago, during a routine voyage, the SS Arcadia vanished without a trace. Though a strange garbled emergency message was broadcast, neither the ship nor any of its crew could be found. 60 years later, its wreck has finally been discovered more than 300 miles from its intended course. A silent graveyard deep beneath the ocean's surface, eagerly waiting for the first sign of life. Cove and her dive team have been granted permission to explore the Arcadia's rusting hull. Their purpose is straightforward: examine the wreck, film everything, and if possible, uncover how and why the supposedly unsinkable ship vanished. Like I said, I did start reading this a little bit, but I didn't get too into the story or anything like that. Darcy Coates is also one of my favorite authors as well, and I am working on reading through her backlist, so this is one that no matter what I will eventually read. I just kind of would like to have it read before the end of this year. Now, I know we have 10 books already, but we do also have just one more because I've really been wanting to get to this book, and that is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This is one that I've been really wanting to read as well, and to be honest, I realized that a lot of the books that I picked up are quite on the chunky side, so I don't know if it will be entirely doable for me to read all of these books that I have on my 10 before the end. 10 in air quotes because I'm bad at deciding, and so that's why I have 11. But this one says Phantasma only has 2 rules: stay alive and don't fall in love. When Ophelia discovers her mother brutally murdered, there is no time to grieve. She has inherited the family's fearsome magic and enormous debt. Circumstances go from dire to deadly. However, when Ophelia's sister decides to pay off the loan by entering Phantasma, a competition where contestants rarely escape alive, and the victor is granted a single wish. The only way for Ophelia to save her sister is to win. But Phantasma is a cursed manor, full of twisting corridors and lavish ballrooms, staffed with enticing demons and fatal temptations, and Ophelia must conquer all 9 floors to succeed if her fears don't overtake her first. I'm really excited over this one. I know so many friends that have read this book and just absolutely love it, although there's definitely been a little bit of mixed feelings from what I've heard on the second book, so I'm excited to read this one, a little bit nervous for the second one, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So yeah, those were the 10-ish, 11 books that I picked for my 10 before the end. I'm really excited to go and dive into a lot of these ones. I'm really hoping that I get to them before the end of the year, but we'll definitely see. We'll see if that ends up happening. But if you have any of these books on your 10 before the end, I'd love to hear down in the comments below, or if you have any other books that you're really hoping to get, let me know as well. And if you got to this point of the video and you don't know what to comment, I'd say maybe leave some roses or maybe a skull for Phantasma, just to let me know that you were here and leave a fun little comment. I always try my best to go and respond back to any comments that are left on my videos. Sometimes I'm a little bit later, but I do try to get to them at least 1 to 3 days after they're originally posted. So yeah, I always comment back and respond to y'all. It just means so much seeing people comment on my videos because I never thought that people would find me on the tiny corner of the internet that I'm on talking about books. So yeah, just a little piece that I wanted to add. Here's hoping that I'm able to read some of these books. I'd say that this year has been a decent reading year, although I'm not really close to my goal of reading 100 books. I think I'm close to maybe getting to 80 books read, which is still really good and really amazing, and that's definitely not a small number at all. But yeah, here's hoping I can get a little bit higher in that reading goal, at least getting closer to 100, and I hope that you're doing well with your reading goals too. And as always, I want to remind you all that you're worthy and capable of amazing things. Bye, friends. And I have this gorgeous I have this gorgeous